Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Monday night Sports Weekly with Dadman. Good to see y'all folks here tonight, or that will be coming in. Good to be back in the saddle again. We were here last week. We had a couple weeks off after touring the whole country. Lots of stuff has happened. A few more things in the sports world. We we'll talk about a few of those tonight and see where we go with it, and have some fun on this sports summer. Although we're running out of sports, we're about to hit that little dry spell where there's only Major League Baseball left. College sports will be wrapped up. The NFL, next thing will be training camp for NFL and preseason college. So football. But hey, I don't mean to trash Major League Baseball. You know why? Because I got the great Woopa Troopa here himself. Hey, Woopa, Mr. Baseball and Pokemon.
Hello, how's it going?
I'm going good, going good. How are you doing now that we've had such a, I know you're busy last week, but hey, it's
Yeah,
it's been a long time since we've had our XFL show, and you've been on a Monday night, so good to see you again. How have things been going for you?
I've been doing pretty well. I've been trying to stream on my own a bit. I've had a little bit of connectivity issues, but overall, been having a lot of fun and happy to be back with the great dad man walking over here.
Oh well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Always good to have you here, and who knows what kind of exciting things we'll have tonight. We actually have some really good, I think, news stories. A lot has happened, a lot has transpired. I am going to put a tweet out now. So, and I like I always say, I can't type and talk. That's the biggest problem. I meant to have this set up. Uh, So, but yeah, it's been a busy day. I went and paid a bill, and they kind of didn't tell me how something worked. So I got a little extra balance to one of my credit cards now. So it's like, so now I got to go spend a couple bucks since they didn't give me change back. Believe it or not, it's one of those
Oh,
weird things. Yeah, it was so frustrating because you're like, why didn't you tell me that? But they didn't. They didn't. I looked at the manager. They got the manager, and it's like, what, what? And they said it already run through. Well, now I know the lessons you learn. But hey, at least it was only a couple bucks, but still, it's annoying.
I'd still rather be zero, no bucks, you know.
No, I know. That's what I said. I'm like, what were you thinking? Because I'm not. Why would I want them to have my money? But, But anyway, I guess we could say the same thing about cable companies.
Oh
When are you
gosh,
going
I
to get?
definitely could.
When are you going to be reliable? You promise all this stuff, but hey,
I've had a lot. I say I've had a lot of fights with those guys, so I definitely know how that is.
absolutely. Well, hey, we've got six people with us. We got, make sure if you're watching us on the Twitch side, you follow us over there on the YouTube side. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, because we lost the subs because, the ever battling algorithm happened. So, but let's say hi to a few people we got here. We got Buddy Hepburn who's coming through waving. Hey, Buddy. And Buddy does say that the NBA draft is in a week or two. Yep. We will probably miss it because next week next week I will be around. Okay, it's the following week I won't, and then we'll start. The Miss and I will be starting a special series in July. Hey, Maddie's daddy, welcome. Thank you. Listen, tonight I don't think you had to be much of a sports fan. Since you live out in the area, we've got at least two stories that actually affects the Vegas area. So especially
That's
if you
true.
hang around for when we get to those. I'd love to hear your feedback as a local out there to see what you say. So that's what I tell everybody. There's sports. Don't focus on the games themselves, because usually there's everything's moving, and other things going around them outside of the sport itself that come in. Politics, unfortunately, comes in a lot. Stadium funding sources, specifically here, the team moving there, stuff like that. Yeah, and not just the Golden Knights, not just the Golden Knights. Sounds like things are working. You're going to get a Major League Baseball team, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And it's the great, stunning, and brave Megatron calling us butts.
Butts. I don't know. Is he calling us butts, or is it just a statement? Maybe it's a
But
request.
okay, well maybe so. And Buddy say, love it. Buddy said he knows how much I like the NBA.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, that too. So yes, so tonight's not just, and that's one of the purposes of this show is to go beyond just the on the field statistics, the gameplay, and things. We will answer questions if you have questions with sports and stuff like that. But this is a news show. It's to talk about things that are in the news and uh, just to see how things are going. And like I said, when we talk about it, I hope you can stay around or able to because it'll be interesting to see what you have thoughts. We got 9 people with us. Wow, that's
Woo.
great. Way off the bat, folks. And Stunning says it's just how I greet people. Okay, well, I think we feel honored.
Maybe.
All right, well let's since we've last talked, a couple things have come up. You want to go NHL or NBA first?
We can go NBA.
All right. Well, the NBA happened. We've got a world champion now. It's the Denver Nuggets beating the Miami Heat. So, Denver's first championship. Like Buddy Hepburn says, I am not really a big fan of the NBA, but I'm more of a college basketball Whoopa. Whoopa, how much do you follow the NBA? Or are you more college also?
I don't follow the NBA a ton. I used to try and follow the the Celtics. Those were my guys, but things got a little. Eventually, I stopped,
Mm-hmm.
and overall, I mean, I guess it didn't matter. Easier not to. I saw a top into the Celtics, but I do
Mm-hmm.
prefer the college basketball brand of play personally. And obviously, St. Louis, we don't have a team really, so.
Yeah. Wasn't there a St. Louis NBA team many, many years ago? I thought
Yep,
they
the
were.
St. Louis Hawks, I believe, or the St. Louis Spirits, one of those two.
Mm.
And we won championship back in the 60s, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's cool.
It's
Well,
been a while.
well, hey, yeah, kind of. Well, let me say hello to Death Wish. Welcome.
Hello.
Greetings. Welcome in here today. We're
Hello,
starting off with
hello.
our slower sports, which is the NBA, and then we're going to work up from there. And Maddie's daddy greets him, and Death Wish hell back. Hey, so of course, so yeah, and thank you again, Steve, for reminding everybody hit that like button. If you sub, if you haven't, hopefully you like this tonight. This is more of a news show, but if you have sports questions, throw it out there. We'll try to deal with it as we can. Uh, really, with the Nuggets, I think it was interesting how it's their first NBA championship for a team that have been around as long as they have. But you know what always got me was that the Miami Heat are still good after these years with Eric Spoelstra still as coach. And especially in a league
Mm-hmm.
where you change coaches like you change underwear. It's like to
Oh,
see
yeah.
a coach that's been around as long as he has. He survived the LeBron James and that whole group of mercenaries that went down there, and then but he's still in the league.
Yeah, I think Spolstra's really been a lot of coaches that LeBron has had, or even a lot of superstars have had, are not very good. You saw what happened with what's the guy in Cleveland, Tyron Lue.
Mm-hmm.
He won a championship, but he quickly was gotten rid of after LeBron because he wasn't good. It was just these coaches like to be doormats for the players, and that's kind of their goal. Spoelstra seems like one of the few coaches LeBron has had that hasn't been that one. LeBron has left and they haven't won again, but he's taken two teams to the finals with a lot worse players. Or not,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like the rosters were not as good as those super team Heat, and he still was able to bring him to the finals and make some noise usually. So it is impressive. I think he's been a really good coach. One of the I don't know. It seems like he's still maybe a little underrated despite all he's accomplished.
Yeah, because it's got to be because to be able to stay around as long as he has, Maybe it's because Pat Riley is also still in charge of the team at an executive level. That he knows. There's consistency with having some stability in the coaching ranks instead of changing coaches all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just looking at something on their roster. I could not believe it. Let me bring this up here. So this is amazing to me, folks, and I think this is a veteran leadership is another thing too. Oh shoot, wrong one. Hit the wrong one.
Oh, what'd you do now?
Ah shoot, I'm hitting the wrong tabs now. But hey, there we go. Here, right here.
Dadman's boot. Right.
Yeah, there we go. Here we add the stream now, and I gotta blow it up a little bit. There, let's stop there. Look down at the roster, and I don't think he played much at all. But Udonis Haslam,
Oh
19
yeah,
years, is still in the league.
he just retired. Did you know that?
I did not know that he actually retired. I knew this last year they had an article about him about the way he stayed on the bench. Because you're usually your 9 through 12 players play very little, if any, in the NBA. So
Mm-hmm.
it really wasn't like he was taking up space from somebody else. But he God, 43 years old. Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God, his birthday was almost my birthday. I never knew that, but yeah, as a former Florida Gator. But the article was about how he was kind of like a de facto coach on the bench, you know.
Yeah,
And
a lot of it comes down to, so he's obviously had his whole um gosh, sorry, words are hard sometimes.
I got you.
He's played his whole career with Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from kind of his earlier years in his 20s, he hasn't been a huge factor, but he stuck around, obviously being kind of a role player for those superstar Heat team.
Right.
Kind of stays around. I mean, in modern day, he can be a center.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's played. So in the last 7 seasons, he has played 65 games.
Wow, that's under 10 games a season. Wow.
Yep. But he did play 2 games in the playoffs, and it's kind of they talk about 2 things that he does really is, like you said, he's a coach. He helps those young players. And another big thing is, I mean, besides the fact that he takes minimum salary, a lot of these players don't. They're talking about this as a. I guess they don't like. Not everyone always likes to talk about it, but it's definitely something that happens. Is you've got players. Maybe they're pushing a little bit too much. Maybe some guy is doing really well, and you want to get in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you've got a guy he's not the best free throw shooter.
Right.
And so sometimes you can send in, and this didn't happen a ton, but it happens sometimes, is you send Haslam in there and you say, all right, you got 6 fouls. Make sure to use them up.
Exactly.
Or is it 5 or 6? I forget which one.
I think the NBA is 6. I think it's 6
Okay.
in the NBA. I think college actually experimented with that once, but they went back to 5. But
5 is a nice round number. It works.
Exactly.
But yeah, just they send them in and say, hey, you can let that guy be, get in people's head, be an instigator.
I'm just looking at his age, born 1980. Mm-hmm. The youngest player was born in 2003. That's like 23 years old.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
He
but,
he could be his dad. You don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, he's born in the UK. I'm going to guess no, but still.
Probably not. But anyway, that's kind of cool looking at that. And that's kind of Buddy Hepburn. There's your NBA talk. I have talked more NBA tonight than I probably will ever talk in my life. But, it's a great connection, though. But it is a gret story. The Heat were a very average team. I think this year they were
the 8th seed.
The 8th seed, 44 and 38, 7th. They were 7th in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, 7th. Okay.
Yeah, meaning they did not have home field advantage at all throughout the playoffs, either conference playoffs or the uh, NBA championship series. So, but when you look at them, I mean, they scored about as much as they gave up. So they're a very balanced, average team. Um, you know, but they made the finals, so you never know what happens. So, all right.
Yep.
Anything else with the NBA? Denver, Miami. That
I
was.
guess the
Go
only other
ahead.
thing I can say is on the Nuggets side, Nikola Jokic had maybe one of the best finals ever. They were comparing a lot of the stuff he did to Jordan, and I'm not saying he's better than Jordan, but
Right.
just how much what Jokic had a uh 30 what a 30 point 20 rebound 10 assist game, I want to say. I think they said that was the first time that happened in the finals, and only the fourth time that's ever happened in all of the playoffs. So I mean, you want to talk about they didn't give him the MVP this year, which I think was silly. Uh, I guess some voters don't, because he already won two in a row. Some voters don't want to keep voting for the same guy. Voter fatigue is real, but uh, he definitely was deserving of it. And in the playoffs, he rose to the occasion. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just really good job by him. He's crazy good, and it's funny because they always say you
Yeah.
watch him. He's not very athletic, but he just makes plays wherever he goes.
In the final game, the Nuggets won 94-89. He had played 42 minutes, 12 of 16, 75% shooting. Actually hit a three, 60% from the free throw line, 16 rebounds, 28 points. I mean, that's
Yeah,
definitely dominating.
only 4 assists. It's funny to think that that's low for him. Uh, but yeah, he did a
Get
great
that kind of
job.
production out of the center, yeah, you're going to win a lot of games with that.
And I always think
Well,
he's really good. I like I don't like that everyone always shoots 3 pointers, but I do like that uh Jokic is. Hold on, let me before I say this, I want to look it up
yeah,
just to make sure. But
yeah.
yeah,
And look at,
Jokic is a career. Well, this year he had shot 383 from 3 point range. That's
wow,
not a ton, but for that's not bad for a big man. He only shoots
38%.
like
Yeah,
he basically shoots like 2.5 a game and makes one a game.
yeah.
Uh, for a center, I think it's I don't like all these players that just turn into centers, or no, the
Mm-hmm.
centers that just turn into 3 point shooters. But I think it's valuable
Yeah,
to have that extra skill and say, hey, he's gonna try and get the inside shot, but if you just let him stand at the 3 point arc, he can pull up from you for and make you pay. You have to guard him the
yeah,
whole half court. You can't leave him alone. And when you got a guy who's 7'3", or no, wait, he's not 7'3", he's 7 foot.
yeah.
Still, he's really really tall. Like that adds such a huge dimension to the game that you got to worry about.
Exactly, and it's hard to combat that, especially if you got good perimeter shooters to go with that big man in the middle. And everybody knows when a big man can step out, it makes it even more difficult to defend. What I find interesting is how the Heat took Game 2 on the road, but then lost the next three games, including two at home. They were not a good road team. Nuggets were pretty good at home, but it was kind of funny how the Heat stole one of the road games, but then dropped from then on out. But significant was that June 1st, the first game. I was actually in Denver that night. I was actually in Denver that night. I hated it. It was dark, construction everywhere, tons of rain, couldn't see, hit a water hazard, but we were okay. Thankfully, to this beautiful woman singing for a whole hour, kept singing down the exit numbers and everything else, uh, keeping us attentive into the road. We made it together. So, but yeah, that was like 11 o'clock at night into Denver. But hello, Mrs. Good to see you over on the Twitch side. Make sure y'all follow us if you're over on the Twitch side. Like and subscribe on this side. So, Whoopa, anything else with the NBA before we move on to the NHL?
Nope, that's all I
Okay.
got.
All right. Well, that was probably, God, that was at least 10 or 15 minutes on NBA. Uh, I put that on the clock. So, all right. Then we have the NHL playoffs that concluded, I think, before that, which was basically the Las Vegas Knights win their first championship over the Florida Panthers. It's kind of interesting to have two Florida teams in the championship series of the two major sports here.
Yeah,
So,
and
s-
they both didn't do very good.
no, no, but you know what? But they were both seventh or eighth seeds. Same thing with Panthers, and the hockey were the eight or the second wild card over on the eastern side. Yet they knocked off a record-setting Bruins team that nobody's expected to happen. Continued the President's Cup jinx, I guess is what you would call it. So
Yep, the last time they won was what, Blackhawks in 2013, I want to say, or
yeah, that
maybe even
sounds about
before
right.
that.
But it was the Blackhawks many years
It's
ago.
been a while, and a lot of the thing is, it's not just that. It's not a lot of just a lot of teams that don't make the finals or don't win the cup. It's a lot of teams that get bounced in the first round. Boston got
Yes.
bounced in the first round. I want to say Florida last year lost in the first round, or maybe just maybe it was the second round. But still, the
Yeah.
Lightning before they
Mm.
went on their big run, back to back cups, they won the President's Trophy and then got swept.
Tampa
So
Bay. Yep.
it's
Yep.
been pretty bad lately.
Exactly. So, hey, you like hockey? We like hockey. You want to watch hockey with somebody cool? Watch it with Mrs. Dadman. So,
Haha.
yes, exactly. That's why we liked Arena Football League so much because it was like a combination of hockey, football, and WWE with the entertainment and the lights and the explosions and stuff. So, but with NHL, the Devils had a good year. They got eliminated by Carolina. Carolina gets eliminated by the Panthers. I mean, Vegas. Vegas has got to be probably one of the most successful expansion teams in any major sport history. For
Yeah,
when you
they definitely have been.
consider the Jaguars and the Panthers had a good second year, but they didn't go repeatedly like for a while. But the Vegas seems like they're there every year now or close to it this year, and that's not how the expansion teams used to be. I mean, look at the 76 Bucks
Mhm.
winless, and then forever for so many years it took them forever to shake that reputation. So I mean that's usually what happens with your expansion teams, but nowadays with all the drafts and the things that they put, where you have to put people on your roster up to get taken by the expansion teams and stuff like that, they've almost forced it to where they're manufacturing the uh, the competitiveness of the expansion teams, which I don't necessarily think is a bad idea because there's nothing worse than like that Tampa Bay for years and they never had a chance. I mean, it took them forever, but it's also kind of bad because it just seems like you're artificially affecting the game because now look what's happening with Vegas. I mean, it's like everybody wants to go to Vegas, more than just hockey. That is so. And let me say hello to
Mhm.
Jeremy. Five Russia approved. Hey, Jeremy. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you tonight. And we got that with that. All right. Anything else with the hockey before we move on?
No, it was a pretty interesting season. I had a fun time.
All right. It was good to get back into hockey. I will say that. Maybe next year we'll have to somehow figure out the way to watch it a little bit more. Had somebody I was watching hockey with, but lost track of them. But it was always good to bug Mark D with a C, especially when uh, my Devils beat his Rangers. Oh no, Steve's one of the people that wants to get out of Vegas. I understand. I understand. And Buddy says Vegas were a lot of mainly second line players to fill the roster, unlike prior expansions who got scraps and draft picks. Exactly. That's
I'll say it's still kind of surprising, even in hindsight, because they made the playoffs their first year and made the finals. But a lot of their players were not guys you would have expected to produce. But even then, I think the one thing, I enjoy the expansion team story and all that. And Vegas did do a good job of, they took advantage of a lot of teams who had bad cap issues. And a lot of players, William Carlson ended up being like a 40 goal scorer right away. A lot of people didn't expect that. They thought, oh, maybe he'll develop into something good, but he was one right away. That's impressive. But another thing is they took a lot of advantage of cap situations. You can do some cap circumventing, which
mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of. And they're not the only ones that can do it. Toronto does it, Tampa Bay does it, a lot of teams do it, but still it can be frustrating to see.
Oh,
but they
yeah.
definitely helped a lot with that.
Well, but see, some teams can use it to their advantage to get rid of people. I know. Remember, the Jaguars got rid of Tony Baselli, because he was coming off major shoulder surgery. I don't ever know that he really ever, but the Texans took him, even though he was out there and injured. But some teams
Well,
are able to get rid
the
of
thing
people.
about that is, I guess I don't know all of the ins and outs of the NFL salary cap, but the NHL, it's like, oh, I think the salary cap was 82.5, um, 82.5 million, and the big thing, you can't go over that, but you can have people on long-term injured reserve. So there was a thing where people would trade. Like Toronto did this a while back. They traded for this. Uh, who was it? Nathan Horton, who had a pretty rough condition. He signed a big contract because he was a good player, but then he couldn't play it. So they just have him on the team, and then they could put him on long-term injured reserve, and they actually got like more cap space from that somehow. Um,
Yeah.
and there was one year, I think it was the year that was it the first year, the second year that the Lightning won. Steven Stamkos, big guy, he had an injury and was conveniently out for the entire season, but he was healthy pretty much right when the playoffs came. And because they had him on long-term injured reserve, they could put his whole like $8 million contract on like not count for the cap, but I think he still got paid. And then when the playoffs come around, they can just activate him, and the cap doesn't really exist in the playoffs. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's all frustrating stuff. I know that's all on the side. That could be
You
its whole
you
own
got to have
thing.
capologists and people like that to know how the rules
Oh,
work and how
there
things and
was
stuff. It's just
there was
crazy.
apparently a few teams have guys who are just their only job is,
Yeah.
the GM comes to them and says, "Hey, I want this guy. How can we make it work for the cap?" And they
Yep.
just crunch all the numbers. I think that's crazy. That'd be such a cool job. You
Exactly.
hire me for it, I'll do it.
Exactly. Hey, I think you'd be cheap. Not to say you'd be cheap, but hey, you'll get paid good market wage. I'm sure you do it very, and love your job. That's the thing, is that'd be a great job to get
Oh heck
into
yeah.
when you can dig into stuff and you like doing that kind of research. So,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, buddy, that's what happened in '76 when the Bucks came in. It was like they got nothing, no help. But then they've I think the NHL made it too easy for Vegas, though, because I know the NFL, when they've had expansions, not been that generous, but well,
I will say I agree somewhat, but I still think a lot of the results are kind of surprising. I think if like they did end up being pretty generous, but I don't think at the time, at least for me, people expected that to be what happened
well,
for those teams.
I'm going to ask this question here with because Vegas came. Did Vegas came in with, because I was not following hockey. This is the first year I picked it back up. But did Seattle, the Kraken, come in at the same time as Vegas did, or did Vegas come in on their own?
Vegas came in on their own, so they were
Okay.
staggered.
So what I'm wondering is, maybe did the NHL possibly make special considerations because of the city of Las Vegas, because it's this big gambling mecca, it's this big gaming mecca, sports betting. I don't condone gambling. I don't do gambling. This channel is not about gambling. We don't promote gambling. Even when we pick, gambling is not a thing. But I'm
Mhm.
just talking from a standpoint of, hey, we don't want that team to suck. We need a good team in that market.
Hmm.
So we're going to
Uh,
maybe give them an advantage.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd say that.
I,
It's hard to say.
it's hard to say, but you sort of wonder sometimes. But hey, but yeah, you're right. When they do that, like Buddy had said, and they changed the way it had done it before, and y'all make sure y'all hit those like buttons. Thanks for
I
coming in. And hey,
because
TMNT,
I
welcome.
will I will
By the
say
way, Steve, this is what Steve's saying about Vegas too. By the way,
what
so freaking hot
so
and dry
freaking
every
hot
day.
and dry every day.
Okay, go ahead with what you were going to say.
Oh, the Seattle. I guess we'll wait to see because this is only Seattle's second season. They did make the playoffs, but
Yeah.
uh, they were pretty bad in their first year, and they had the exact same rules.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. That's good. It was fun to speculate though, but you never know. Um, but that probably is the wave of the future. How they're going to do it is to try to, and it's okay if they do it for everybody, but not favor particular cities because there's nothing worse than being a fan of a team that's really is just bad. You know,
Hmm.
and it's like you're thrown in without a chance. You've not had years to build a team or minor league systems and things like that. You just have got to do it from scratch, and you
I
got to
do
complete
think
rosters.
I do think a lot of that did come from uh yeah, so many teams just started out so bad. It took a while. I think one a good example would be San Jose, the Sharks.
Uh huh.
They were awful when they started, and they've got a pretty good fan base now, but it took a while for them to get there because
Yeah.
the team was just so bad. It's like, well, we're gonna come here and watch our team get their butts kicked. I don't think I want that.
Yeah. People do
Uh,
get tired of that at some point, you know.
yeah, and if you make a team so bad, it's one thing if a team is bad. It's another if they're. I think the San Jose still has the worst record ever in that first expansion year, the worst winning percentage. So we're not talking about like normal bad. You're talking
Yeah.
about worst ever bad. That's pretty rough.
Well, then you got a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars that actually were bad in their expansion year, but then managed 20 years later to go even worse, like one win in the whole season. So
Oh yeah, and
yeah,
that's always been that's
uh,
always kind of been a
it's
I guess a
crazy.
talking point. You
I
know,
know.
I think things have calmed down. Jacksonville finally seems to be good, but they were talking about moving you guys for so long.
Yep. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit when we got an article coming up about that with what's happening with them. But listen, I'm going to juggle the lineup a little bit on us because we were
Uh
going to
oh.
do College World Series next. But
Uh
because we
oh.
talked about Las Vegas, because Steve's here, and I know Buddy, this is probably Buddy's been with us a few weeks as we've been talking about this story. But one of the things that is still moving is the Oakland A's moved to Las Vegas. Apparently, the A's announced they were moving to Las Vegas a while back before even securing funding from the local governments and without Major League Baseball approval and all the other stuff, you know. So they said, hey, we're going to move to Vegas. So last week I heard about this article, and here we go. Your favorite guy, unfortunately, I'm sorry, uh, Rob Manfred,
Mm.
the MLB commissioner. So basically,
Boo.
what they said is that the Major League Baseball will start a months-long approval process for the A's proposed move to Las Vegas, which appears to become the second shift of a franchise in the last half century. So, you know, the, uh, the they talk about the $380 million in public financing of the ballpark that was approved by this Nevada legislature. But if you remember back to our previous stories, they really wanted a $500 million. So this is a
Mhm.
discount, I guess. But this, you know, there's a whole story that they reference in here that the team couldn't get a new stadium in Oakland, and actually MLB's defending the owner, who has apparently not spoken publicly, and Manfred's quoted as saying, "I feel sorry for the fans in Oakland. I do not like this outcome. I understand why they feel the way they do." He goes on, quote, "I think that the real question is, what is it that Oakland was prepared to do? There is no Oakland offer. They never got to the point where they had a plan to build a stadium at any site." That's the commissioner of baseball that says that.
Mhm.
So if you look further into the article, and this has been in other articles, that the Oakland mayor Shang Thao denied the claim the city made no ballpark offer. He's quoted, quote, there was a very concrete proposal under discussion, and Oakland had gone above and beyond to clear hurdles, including securing funding for infrastructure, providing an environmental review, and working with other agencies to finalize approvals. The spokesman said in a statement. The quote, the reality is that A's ownership had insisted on a multi-billion-dollar 55-acre project that included a ballpark, residential, commercial, and retail space. In Las Vegas, for whatever reason, they seem satisfied with a 9-acre leased ballpark on leased land. If they had proposed a similar project in Oakland, we feel confident a new ballpark would already be under construction. So you got two sides to the article to the issue. And uh, one side says one thing, the team says one thing, the government says one thing. But I know in repeated instances, the city has maintained and claimed that they had proposals or were working to keep them there. One of the things that I noticed too, and we'll talk a little bit about Jacksonville coming up, all these teams keep tying in this daggum retail crap with the baseball stadiums these days. Uh, because Jacksonville has the same thing because they want to build the stadium, but they also want to bring shopping into downtown and stuff like that. Well, some cities are not, people don't go downtown in some cities. They just don't. But there's this forced effort to drag people to downtown. And instead of just building ballparks, we get these multi-purpose. It's like everybody wants a Jerry's World, I guess. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
and I think the thing is because the Cardinals have done some stuff like that. But the
mhm,
difference, and this is me, I enjoy what the Cardinals did, but the Cardinals have only recently started building up this ballpark village, which is essentially, hey, here's some bars, here's some big TVs, you can watch whatever game, you can go get a drink. Um, they have apartments there. It's a whole thing that they keep
mhm,
trying to expand. Um, and I don't know all of the politics involved in that and like their expansion stuff, but I don't mind the that, but that's because, or like the Jerry's World you're talking about, that's because those teams are already established. The
mhm,
Cowboys, even if it's been a long time since they've won, uh,
yeah,
they're everyone knows the Cowboys. They're not gonna ever have to worry about fan support. The Cardinals, second most MLB championships ever.
mhm,
Um, those are teams that they built the winning culture and they built the fan base. Then they build this whole kind of multi-purpose stadium once they've already got the support of the fans and all that.
mhm,
It seems like a lot of these guys, like the A's and like the Jaguars, they haven't built that winning culture that fans support yet, and they're already trying to cash in on the retail, and that's just ridiculous to me.
yeah, exactly. Well, although it sounds like it's pretty much a done deal, Manfred said the team must still submit a relocation application explaining its efforts in Oakland and why Las Vegas is a better market. The committee will define the new operating territory and television territory, then make a recommendation to the to the commissioner and the 8-man executive council. The group makes a recommendation to all clubs, which must approve the move by at least a three-quarters vote. Oh, look at this comment.
Mm-hmm. He
Yeah,
is. If I don't know if you've how much you've read this article, I know some of the things he said, and they're ridiculous.
yes. Well, I tell you what, one thing that talks to me is I think his quote about feeling sorry for the fans was very disingenuous.
It
Is really,
was.
it's so easy to say that crap, but you're not going to do anything because you're not going to tell the owner to go back and work with the local government. You're going to push the pressure to move it to a bigger city because, you know, unless the city basically caves to all your needs, then or all your desires and wants, you don't feel sorry for those fans. Those fans have gone with their because if you look at this thing, if you look at this will be the this franchise moved from Philadelphia was in Philadelphia from 1901 to 1954, moved to Kansas City for 13 seasons, and arrived in Oakland in 1968. So you got a team that's been there for going on 60, almost 60 years there. There's no loyalty to stay there. I mean, if you really, really wanted to, the tradition of the Bash Brothers, Ricky Henderson, all the other stuff, all that's just gone. So let's move them to a new city, and to say that you feel sorry for the fans, to me, just comes off very disingenuous. And then to say the city didn't make an offer, it's just so disingenuous and all this stuff with that. And then Manfred goes on to say it's always been baseball's policy and preference to stay put, and I think that always colors any conversation about relocation. Uh, you know, Having said that, I think the owners as a whole understand there's been a multi-year and approaching a decade effort where, for the vast majority of the time, the sole focus was Oakland. Now, the thing is, I do um, I do recall an article that we talked about a few weeks ago with where the Raiders owner basically doesn't like Fisher, didn't want him in Vegas because they actually blocked the Raiders' efforts with what they were doing with stonewalling stadium improvements, kept the Raiders from getting what they needed to get done in the same stadium they shared, so they moved to Vegas. You know, it was really interesting to see another owner in another sport really throwing down on another one. Let me say hello to Mikey Susie Ford. Hey, Mikey, good to see you tonight. Thanks for coming in. We got 10 of y'all here. Yay. Yeah, make sure y'all smash that like button. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for hanging out. We are still getting going strong on here with this story. Um, so here's what I talk about disingenuous. So, well, we'll look back at the movie. We saw that this would be the fourth move of the A's. The A's would be the second MLB team to change cities in more than 50 years. Since the Senators became the Washington Senators became Texas Rangers in for 1972. The only team to relocate has been the Expos, who became the Washington Nationals in 2005. So
Mhm.
there's
That was
baseball has
from one of historically awful owner.
yeah, and so the history has not been to move these teams and stuff, but but why would you move out of a Bay Area of Oakland? Because it's a big market. It's got all that other, it's got
The
everything.
biggest thing is Oakland has not had a ton of fans. But the thing is, well, first of all, I don't think that's true with the Raiders. I'm pretty sure the Raiders had some good crowds, but with the Athletics, I mean, look at what they've been doing. There's been movies and books written on how cheap their owner is, and the Coliseum. There's talks about, oh yeah, there's just stray cats, just in there's feral cats problem in there.
Wow.
There was someone uh there was we're not even talking about the fan experience. They're talking about broadcasters who were sitting there and they're like, what's that smell? Something smells awful in here. And there was just a dead possum that died in the wall somewhere, and
Yeah.
it smelled so bad they had to move them. This
Yeah.
place is a dump. The owner refuses to spend money. They traded away two players. Um, they traded away two players this offseason who were like really good and still had 3 more years of team control, but it could save him a little bit of money. And
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, why would the fans want to support you? They know that this team, it's going to take a miracle for them to get. It takes, it's hard for them to
Yeah.
get to the postseason, and even when they do, it's usually short lived because they know they're going to tear it down.
Yeah.
Uh, it's stupid. It
And
doesn't make a lot of sense.
the
And
Marlins went through that a number of years. Even the
yeah,
Rays, but the
well, the
Rays keep
Marlins,
winning though. That's what's so funny.
the Rays are the Rays are similar to like what the Moneyball Astros were, because the Rays are my Moneyball Athletics were, because they do the same thing, but they're also a cheap owner and they've been winning. The
Hmm.
Marlins were even worse because at least the Athletics and the Rays had some people in their organization who cared. The
Yeah.
Marlins, despite winning championships, like they basically lucked into those, and when they
Yeah.
did, they got rid of.
Yep.
And it's ridiculous. They get rid of people you don't need to get rid of.
Yep.
Um, and that guy, he put that team in the dumpster and finally sold it. And now the new
Wasn't it
ownership,
Jeff? Was it Lurie?
Loria, it's
Lurie.
awful,
Yeah. Yeah.
terrible person.
Well, listen,
Uh,
Manfred. Even I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh, it's just new ownership. We'll still have to see because the Marlins are only just now starting to get better. But
Well, well,
uh,
Manfred continued with the disingenuous, in my opinion, here, because he went on to say, "quote I hope they stay baseball fans, whatever team they decide to affiliate with." Boy, and it goes on. This piece of the piece of this particular series of events that's the most disturbing to me is the idea of fans that have supported the team losing a team. We hate that idea. I don't know what he's talking about. The articles I've read actually had their reverse boycott was to try to get people there to have somebody else to buy the team locally. I don't know what he
uh,
did about uh
a lot of, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, because I'm struggling to figure out how he thinks that people want them to lose on purpose and still keep
No,
them.
it's it was all about sorry, spacing out. Uh happens sometimes. No, it was
I
all
know.
about the fans are saying, "Hey, look, we're not the problem. We'll show up.
Yeah,
We just, they we'll show up. We just want a good product. We care about this team. We want this team to stay here." Uh, basically just saying it's not the fans' fault. It's the other fault, and that's totally true.
well, they say the article goes on to say that Oakland is averaging 9,076 fans per home game.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
our AAA baseball team outdraws that.
yeah, and here's the thing, though, because this is what they used to say about St. Louis too with the Rams. Like, oh well, look at their attendance; it's so low. Yeah, their owner's been talking about moving for 3 years. And this is the same thing. There's been a lot of rumors about the A's leaving, and now they're not even rumors. They're just pretty much
Mhm.
confirmed that the A's are leaving. Why do you expect these people, these normal people, just use their hard-earned money um, to go see a game for a team that A isn't even trying to win and B is owned by someone who is giving you the finger essentially.
And last week, that one of the articles had, I think somebody paid $150 for a ticket. I'm like, why would you pay that for any ticket? Even if it's a great seat. I think Buddy a while back told me what they used to pay for seats there too, and it was like, first thing is, why would you pay that much money for this? Because the A's last won the World Series in '89, according to the article, reached the playoffs from 2018 to 2020. But after trading top players and slashing payroll to a big league low $58 million, had the second worst record in the major leagues at 19-51. And Manfred said this because I'm going to, uh, Buddy, I'm not, Buddy and Mikey, I'm going to get to your comments in just a minute because I've seen them. Because I think Buddy touched on this a little bit, but Manfred said, quote, they had a very, very good record up through the pandemic. Markets that face that kind of financial difficulty often have to make hard decisions with respect to players when you have limited financial resources. And it's like
That's stupid.
that.
There's so many so many owners like to cry foul on all that stuff when we know they have the money. But even let's say that the A's are struggling. Let's just pretend that they really do have below below average income. Look at the major league payrolls
Mm-hmm.
for this year. Hold on, sorry, I'm pulling them up.
Okay. Well, let me
Uh,
go ahead and okay, go ahead while you're pulling them up. I was going to read
oh,
something else while
the
you.
Athletics total payroll is 60 million. The league average is 160 million. So this is a team that's
What?
yeah, they're $100 million below league average. I'm
Like
sorry,
a
but
third of it.
if you own an MLB team, there's no way that he can't afford more. They're saying, oh, it's tough.
Does MLB have a bottom, a salary minimum or not? They
Nope,
must not, because
they
some of the
don't. I
sports,
wish they did, but they
some of the
don't.
unions negotiate that floor that they have to at least spend a certain amount.
So
But yeah,
most leagues, it comes down to salary cap
yep.
because in order for all the sports teams, which I prefer the salary cap, and I think if the MLB did a salary cap, it would be much better. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because it would get rid of all this stupid, well, we just
Right.
don't have enough money rule. Like we know you do.
Yeah.
Pay up, buddy.
Well, let me.
But
Yeah.
there's so much of, but all that basically when the owners were saying, hey, we want to get a salary cap, and they do some agreement on it based on like revenue that year or whatever, what the cap will be. But there's also the players said, hey, we're not going to cap our pay if you don't guarantee a certain amount.
Right.
So the cap came with the floor. Well, since the
Mm-hmm.
MLB never negotiated a cap, there's also not a floor. There was a team
Right.
not too long ago. Let me double check. I think it might have been in 2022, and it might have been the A's, if I remember. Oh gosh, yeah, the A's last year were 48 million, so even less. And then you have what was 21? I don't know. There was a team not too long ago that had a payroll of like $23 million, which is
Mm.
crazy.
Well, one of the other things, I believe that the stadium in Vegas is supposed to cost $1.5 billion, yet they're only getting 380,000 million of government money. It's like, Yeah, they're gonna have to come some way up. Come, it's so funny how they can operate a baseball team so cheap in Oakland, but then manage to find resources in another city. So let me get to this. We're going to keep up with this article in just a minute, but I wanted to get to some of the comments because Buddy Hepburn and Mikey have had some things to say. Buddy says, and they blame Oakland. It's Oakland's fault for not giving $750 million to the Raiders and $380 million to the A's. And I think the A's, both teams wanted even more than that, though. I think those are just the amounts that those teams ended up with there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Mikey says that since the A's won their World Series back in '89, the fan numbers have gone downward every year. Bad management, owners paying for cheap players, need new stadium, etc., and the list goes on. Again, back to the thing about the new stadium, the Raiders owner has blamed the A's for them not being able to do the renovations they needed to the stadium to keep Oakland, the Raiders there. But who knows what the truth is? But apparently, there's no love lost between the two owners. So, and Buddy now has touched on this that the Coliseum's attendance was good before they traded the team away and forced a tank like Major League before the lockdowns. So we're back to how things used to be. And hello, Jess. Hey, Jess, welcome in. Good to see you out there. So sorry I've fallen behind with this. So Buddy says that they were division champs a lot, considering having one of the lowest payrolls year after year. Yeah, and look at that 2018 to 20 run. Mikey says you can't sustain being cheap though. Eventually, fans get tired of inane management not bothering to spend a little money. Yep. And Buddy actually says they killed it before 2020. So, and thank you for putting the link out there, everybody, for Twitter. That's where to follow me when we go live and everything else. And hey, make sure you hit that like button. Let's subscribe if you haven't. Bring your friends, dogs, neighbors, drunks, and everybody else in. Well, see, we're talking sports, but in a different framework. And I want to talk. We keep talking about the Oakland side of it. I want to talk a little bit from the Las Vegas resident side, the Nevada taxpayers, because Manfred's last comment is, quote, I view baseball stadiums because of the number of games and economic impact we produce as a public asset. He goes on, I do think that is part of my job, and in fact, it's good business to have a public-private partnership to get those kind of facilities built. So now, you've got the taxpayers of Nevada that have not only brought on a hockey team, a football team, and now they got to build another stadium. And I will tell you, how can we? I am a doubter. I like to see hard concrete numbers. I don't like to see projections and estimates. How can they prove what economic benefits and gain have been? I mean, beyond the only thing I can see is that look out and we got more traffic and more crowds and everything gets more hectic, But really, where does that wealth go? Does it really go down to the people? Does it stay in the community? I think that a lot of those are factors that are general selling points, but they're factors that could be hard to measure.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you were going to still keep
Oh
going.
no, sorry. I had to stop. I had to take a breath after that one.
Oh, no worries. I get it. No, it's so much. I mean, this is definitely how you make a team angry. Uh, like not a team, a city angry.
Mm-hmm.
They did this with St. Louis. I don't think maybe because I've heard NFL teams. I've heard media personalities talk about, oh, I want to bring back an NFL team. Look, I'll be 100% honest. If they make an NFL team in St. Louis, I'm not going to support them. They've taken away two of our teams. I'm not going to get invested in this other team. They can go screw off. I'm sure a lot of people in Oakland feel the same way about the NFL and the MLB now. Same thing with San Diego. San Diego, I doubt would even come and support, because the thing is, San Diego and LA are not too terribly far apart, but old San Diego fans don't come to Chargers games because they're not going to support that team with the current management and the move change or the ownership. So they're just burning bridges left and right, and it's just not going to matter.
Yeah.
It's not a good business plan, just to put it simply.
Nope. I don't think so either. And we may touch on some of those other themes when we talk about one of our other stories. But basically, it's a 30,000 seat ballpark, which is just seems daggum small. Basically, the lease at Oakland Coliseum expires after the 2024 season, would move them from the 10th largest TV market to the 40th, and stadium capacity would be the major league's smallest. So you got all these factors that are coming in through here and stuff and all, and it just. But they did say that the A's and Tampa Bay Rays must get new ballpark agreements before expansion will be considered. So the last expansion was in 1998. Consider candidates are considered to be Charlotte, North Carolina, Montreal, Nashville, Tennessee, and Portland, Oregon. So why would you put a baseball team in Oregon? Well, I guess you build a dome, and then you don't have to deal with the weather. But basically, that's where this sits. I'm curious, like somebody, Buddy Hepburn out there. Would you? Is there still any sentimentality? Would you go to the last game before they move, or has those type of bridges been burned so badly that you really don't care? Or you really have to be a nostalgia, somebody that really loves the nostalgia to go to that last series or that last game. Yeah, and Buddy said here the stadium wasn't keeping fans away. Bad play and record did. Well, they play well and have notable players to support. People show up. There's been that debate in like another franchise, the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to talk about that article in just a moment with them coming up with stadium improvements. So not a move, but a local improvement. So let me see. Let me close this article. So this is basically this. MLB started the process for approving the move. There's one other article that I have here that was tied in because it was last Tuesday. Also, last Tuesday, the Nevada Senate passed $380 million bill to fund the stadium. Now, remember, like I said, it's a $1.5 billion project. They wanted $500 million, but they're only going to get $380 million. So that's why I was saying if Steve was around still, like as a local person, it's how many dang stadiums can one group of citizenry finance? Obviously it's ad nauseum, but it's just you got to be frustrating, and then you have the whole corporate private partnership that they like to pitch, but the auditor side of me is very skeptical when we see stuff like that, because usually the profits go one way, but hey, we shall see. But hey, to touch on this real quick, this article about the from ESPN.com, basically that they talk the funding was passed, but also this also came up about a reverse boycott, which fans showed up wearing shirts that said "Sell," encouraged Fisher to unload the team rather than move it. Fans have abandoned the team after a Fisher force fire sale depleted roster and worst record at this date was 18-50. So, it's got to be frustrating as a local fan to deal with that. And then when the commissioner of baseball blames the fans too with the little comment about, well, we don't like the idea of the fans wanting to. What's he said? He said because I got to get this quote correct. What is most disturbing to me is the idea of fans that fans have supported the team losing a team. They're not supporting losing a team. They're wanting a decent product to fall behind and to enjoy. So, all right. Well, that goes with this article. We killed a hell of a lot of time on that one, didn't we?
It's a very big contentious argument.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of these relocations, not a fan of all these things saying, hey, why don't we make the citizens of the city pay for all this stuff instead of us? But
yeah,
instead of Major League Baseball and all that. And it definitely bothers me when you hear all the stuff talking about, oh well, we hate the thought of the fans not having someone to root for, but we hope
yeah,
you'll root for someone else. It's like, no, what? Screw you. Why would they want to root for you? You're the ones doing this to them.
yeah,
And some people will. I know some people in St. Louis who are LA Rams fans, and to them I say, What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. And hey, Steve, good luck. Glad you get to get off. Love to talk
Woohoo.
about this with you sometime too, and like to get your thoughts as being on the adopting a team, another team. You get a third professional team coming to town. So, but hey, thanks for hanging out, and thanks. Remember, everybody, like in Steve's words, hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button, folks. Uh, well, before you leave and all. So, all right. Well, the next article we got is about the Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now facing stadium renovation issues. It's an old stadium. It was built in 1995. They kept up half the building, then and then they built it out around it. They've had several renovations, but now this is going to be a complete overhaul, which they have different options according to the various articles, and they're different. Uh, I'm going to bring up this article that doesn't have as many of the details, but uh, they're trying to. At this point, there's been no deal with the city, but the projection is going to take $1 billion in local taxpayer money, local state taxpayer money to get a deal done to renovate the stadium.
$1 billion. Holy
Yes,
moly.
and to secure the team's long-term future in Jacksonville. $1 billion, yes.
Jeez.
Now you talk about a fan base. Thank God this team won last year, but it had been hit. The Weavers were cheap at the end, losing Shad Khan. I think he tried, but then you got the Urban Meyer disaster experience, and you got other things happen. It was bad, but it was like a team that was notoriously cheap for a long time but then they got snake bit every time they tried to do something. It like went against them, but you got that thing about $1 billion, of taxpayer support. Well, they haven't negotiated the deal yet. That's in progress. But again, we're back to those different building models. One of them had this shopping plaza stuff and all this other stuff. Again, if anybody knows what Jacksonville is, people don't go downtown. It's a different type of community. As much as you want to make it New York, LA, and all this ritzy upscale downtown megacity crap, it's a small southern city, and it's one that people don't want to acknowledge. That's the culture. They want to be New York. Like all the snowbirds have come down and want to turn it into something. Culturally, it's not, and here we got $1 billion and we're going to have all the stuff down there. So, but basically with this deal, you have to see what happens. What is significant with this one is the length of the renovations are kind of the factor on what they do, because a process could last 4 years and cost an extra $190 million. Basically, there's one that had less parking on game day, along with construction dust. So it depends on the plan that they have. There's one plan where they can stay in the building, but construction will take the 4 years, be another $190 million on extra. There's a plan that could take it 2 years, but they have to move out and play somewhere exclusively. And like this article is talking about, it's mentioned the 2 year location will be likely in 26, 27. Likely Gainesville, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium at Florida Field. And yeah, Mikey, go ahead and lurk. We appreciate lurkers too. And if anybody else is lurking, we appreciate lurkers too. Thank you. But basically, Gainesville, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, where the University of Florida plays, Orlando at Camping World Stadium, or what came up last week was the Daytona International Speedway as a possible place to play NFL games.
What? How does that work?
Well, I will tell you, honestly, knowing the area of the three, Orlando goes too far for the Jacksonville people. I mean, it's 2.5 hours down there, and that's on a good day with good traffic. Gainesville is about 90 minutes away, but it's all small road, back road county stuff. Daytona actually makes sense from interstate. You can have people coming down 95, east on 4, or up on 95. Oddly, it sounds weird to have an NFL game in a raceway, but it actually seems like the most logical one to do it because of being able to get people in and deal with that many people in one spot.
But where are they going to play? Where are they going to play the game?
That's what they're going to do. For 2 years, they're going to play on a neutral site, as a separate site.
But I guess I just does the Daytona Raceway have a big field that they can
That
just play
infield, yeah,
football on?
yeah, yeah. If you know NASCAR, I don't know many things about NASCAR,
I
but they
don't
have
know
that
now.
big. They have a big old infield. They put their campers out there and all that other stuff, so they could put. They got room to put a football field out there. I believe they got a huge infield. Um, so those are the three options that they're looking at. Uh, One of the interesting things is that they say that like the article says, none becomes relevant until there's a plan to share the cost. It's expected to cost $2 billion, with the team willing to share expenses on a 50-50 basis. So of course they want the pie in the sky, the shopping, and all the other crap we've talked about either also. But you know what? There's one thing that this particular article has left out, and you know what that is, Whoopa?
What's that?
That they stay in town and play in town at one of two locations. There's the University of North Florida that has about a 9,000 seat stadium. Well, it's only basically one side of, like, take a big high school or small college concrete bleacher thing. That's what's there. One side. And they talk about adding 20,000 temporary seats there. Or to the minor AAA minor league baseball team stadium that has about 10,000, adding 20,000 temporary seats there. It's like it just what it's going to be interesting to see what they do, how they do it. Uh, but it's overall they expect a 50-50, but I don't believe it's a true 50-50. I think it's on some of the stadium costs that are 50-50. I think, and what I read in another article was that in some cases though the Jaguars pay less than the 50-50 of certain types of costs. But so we have one article about a team moving from city to city. We have another article talking about a team trying to figure out where they're going to play the next year. You got any other thoughts on this one? I know it's probably stunning.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy how much taxpayer money these guys want. Uh, I think they want to pretend like they spend $1 million on players players a year, and all the TV deals are public. We can see how much they're making in just the TV deals, let alone concessions and uh, ticket sales. And then they want to pretend, oh, we don't have this kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
And again, back to the question is, how can you really truly tangibly measure the actual dollar for dollar uh, benefits provided? They say that they're provided. You think you can see it, but you know it's hard to. It doesn't pass down to the little guy. The average Joe doesn't get it. So, and Death Wish says, "Cool. Hey, thank you for still being here, Death Wish. Hey, we got 7 of y'all still with us. Thank you. Um, Appreciate it. Like I said, make sure y'all hit the like button and sub if you haven't. So good to have you all with us. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens with this team, because let's take a look at this beyond just the renovation standpoint. I think you touched on it a little bit earlier. It's also a team that has always been tied to moving to out of market. So even to the point of moving to London, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
You're familiar with those rumors?
Yeah, I remember those. That was always a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is another article that I got from, I think, let's see the source. Let's see. I'm trying to remember where the source of this article came from. Let's see. This article, I want to make sure I quote the source right. It's si.com. Okay.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, Sports Illustrated. So basically, before I bring it up, yeah. So, and here's the article that we got here with this is that franchise was franchise history was stadium situation, and basically, and the article's writing that it's a critical juncture for the Jaguars franchise. After they met with the Jaguars president, the plans to build a new venue between 1.3 and 1.4 billion. So, this has been a long run. If you know anything about the Jaguars franchise, this has been a long running situation and concern. We get back when we talked about the A's and lack of attendance. Well, Jacksonville is a very small market. They've not attended well, but if you know the Jaguars in the last 20 years, they've sucked beyond suckitude.
Yeah, besides
It's
that,
like,
like 1 year.
yeah, I mean, they have a year here or there with something good, and then the attitude became, well, why aren't y'all going? Well, why? Because they were just that bad. I mean,
Hmm.
this is a team that 1-15 or 2-14. I mean, really, just horrible years
Uh,
repeatedly.
this is a state that has a rich college football tradition as well, and
Exactly.
that's the kind of thing. Missouri. Uh, it's kind of, hey, if you want football, you have to go with your pro teams. Besides the fact that Mizzou hasn't been good for a while, they're the only
Hmm.
college in the entire state. So if they're bad, that's it. Florida's
Hmm.
got a ton, and I know you're a Gator fan. You're not going to go root if Florida State's doing good, but you've got a lot of options if you want to see good football at the very least. You don't need to sit around and see this NFL product that sucks.
Yeah. No. Exactly. And again, it's top dollar. You know, you outprice your market. I mean, the same thing. Why would you pay for crap? You know, what they're finding out is that now after last year, ticket sales are on the rise. Imagine that. When you actually have a real team, a real coach, some stability in the franchise, you know, what, and especially Floridians have always been, they'll show up. If you win, they'll show up. Give them a competitive product, they'll show up. You know, you look at a lot of times the Gator fans have always shown up, even when they've been mediocre. But I'm afraid their attendance is going to drop as bad as last year was. Those things. But but everybody loves a winner. That adage is true. It's proved. You look at the A's that drop off. When they were winning, they had decent crowds. Now when they're not even trying to win, they bottom out to what is embarrassing. I mean, the thought of 9,000 people to any major sports event is just unthinkable. Would have been unthinkable like 20 years ago. You just followed your teams, but with the cost of it now, it's just and there's also more opportunities for entertainment and outlets for entertainment. So why are you going to go waste your time? I mean, unless you really like football, I could be one of those people. Unless you really like football, just to go for the sake of football. But I'll tell you what we have here, though. What we have here, though, is there's bowl games that we have, college bowl games.
Mm-hmm.
Usually there's an SEC team plays an ACC team, but I'm not going to go pay $60 to watch what is essentially an exhibition game, usually between two schools I don't give a crap about. Now, if you dropped it to 20-25 bucks, I'd probably go. You know, but why should I go pay 50 to 60 bucks for something? Two teams that, like you said, you get Kentucky in here, woohoo! Offensive SEC juggernaut. So,
Yeah, that zero
Buddy's right
point
here.
bowl game.
Yeah, and Buddy's right here. It's easier to sit at home and watch it on TV now too.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different outlets. So basically, we'll try to get through this article, but basically, what they're talking about is a bunch of conclusions that they the article goes to say this will be the second major overhaul after being constructed in the mid 1990s. That time they moved the Florida Georgia game out of town for 2 years. Uh, let's see, public money would have to be incorporated, and talk about the privately financed venues. Of course, he was up in New York with the Jets and the Giants. You have all the things around the league that are happening. Just all those typical story, those lines that keep coming out. How much is publicly funded, and what did they do? Because one of the points is if the funding is secured, moving out of the stadium for a couple of years while the work is being done is the most cost-effective way of managing the project. In that scenario, the Jags would be out of the stadium in 26 and 27. back in the rebuilt structure in 28. Now, if they try to play in the stadium through the construction, it'll impact 4 seasons rather than two and add about $200 million to the cost, according to the Jaguars president. And I mentioned the other two alternatives for local viewing. So, and apparently SoFi Stadium, I think that's the one in San Diego,
LA.
LA. Well, that's apparently the one that's inspiration for what they're trying to do.
Uh, well, then I hope it fails. Stupid stadium. That's
SoFi,
stupid. Besides
SoFi,
the fact that I don't like it, it's just like, oh, we're gonna build this giant stadium, and then guess what? No one's gonna come up to it unless we're playing a game versus San Francisco, and then they'll come to it. But no one freaking cares about
the Chargers.
LA football on both sides. They're both. You see their Super Bowl thing. No one's coming out to support that team because they don't care. That's why
Yeah.
they moved in the first place.
And they'll move back to St. Louis again one day.
No,
But
I'm not gonna. Unless the NFL. Well, I guess the NFL will never apologize. But if they get new ownership and the ownership is like, I'm sorry, this guy's an asshole.
yeah,
Then I'll take him back. But
yes,
if the guy just came back or whatever, I would say screw him.
yep. Well, apparently they want a permanent roof over the stadium, provides shade, all that stuff, but it still be an open air. And of course, the Jaguars are going to keep those damn pools. You know what a joke. But hey, but you know what though? I will say, what this Florida Heat has gotten is that it probably, if the technology's there, it is the thing to do for safety and that make it comfortable where people can enjoy the game because it can get hotter than hell out there some days. But then again, is it worth $2 billion to build a stadium that's used maybe 3 times in the hot part of the year? I mean, that's the questions nobody wants to stop and ask. They're so busy into doing comfort that do we really have to do that? Do we really need it? Why don't we reschedule the games? Why don't we move them back a few weeks or something? So, and hey, small time Republic, hell, sir, good to see you tonight. Do you think it's possible that the Jags move to London? That has been a question that has been ongoing for probably 15 years, at least 10 at least probably 15 or more years. Is that has always been the carrot that's been sticking over the community of, well, you better go buy tickets or you better pay for this for the stadium because, they could move, they could go somewhere. And, really heightened that talk when the Jaguars won. The NFL started those games in London, but I believe Shad Khan was like the first one to really volunteer for it. So the Jaguars permanently have a game in London every year now, and I believe this next year they're playing 2 games in London. I think one's a home game, one's a road game though. So
Okay.
I say, my thing is honestly, small time, and I've said this before, and part of it's being a smartass, but part of it is serious. Is that question's been out there for so long? If this team's going to move out of its stadium for 2 years anyway, why not try it league wide? Move them to London and see how it would work for a whole season. Uh, Having a team over there to see the practicalities of the real world results. Again, like I said, we can't measure all this stuff about what taxpayer dollars bring in, but like in that case, we could see the tangible effects: player injuries, player fatigue, or whatever. Maybe it works. Who knows? But if you ever wanted to find out, I think this would be a time to try it. But welcome in, sir. Good to see you tonight. All
I
right.
don't think it's gonna work. I don't think London cares enough. They say, "Oh,
Mhm.
look at this attendance." Yeah, that's like what
It's a novelty.
yeah,
Yeah.
1 to 4 games a year. You put a whole thing in
Yeah.
there, especially moving a team. Well, I guess the Jaguars are good now, but when they were talking about it, it's like you're gonna move one of the worst teams in the league there, and you expect them to
Hmm.
just be like, "Oh, cool."
Yep.
People are gonna say, "What the heck is this crap? This American
Exactly.
football sucks."
And Buddy is saying 3 games in England this coming season. So yeah, he says the right things, but who knows? I mean, he owns a London soccer team that's not the best either. So I
You know who else owns a England soccer team?
who
That loser Cronky.
Cronky.
You know what? His team lost. They had a huge lead in the Premier League and they blew it because they suck.
Folks, if you want to hear Whoop on a rampage, bring up the name Stan Kroenke. Yes,
I hate
yes,
that.
absolutely.
I would take a pilgrimage to take a dump on his lawn. That's all I'm saying.
I know you would. I know you would. Well, one last part of this article, I kind of touched on it already, but the article touches on about the idea of NFL games in Daytona is pretty fun in the raceway. The Jaguars president, Mark Lamping, has cited that the University of Tennessee played at Bristol Motor Speedway. So it has been done before in other, maybe in the college game at least.
Yeah, this seems so odd.
But honestly, it is odd, but it would make sense. If the infield's large enough, you just move temporary seating down and around to it, or maybe people can still sit in the existing stands. I don't know how you do that. I'm not an engineer, but
I
practically
guess they
that.
did that with the NHL. They sold out the. They had what game was that? Who did they play? Detroit, I think it was. They
Mm-hmm,
played in the big house. Had
mm-hmm,
100,000 people watching a hockey
yep,
game, which is crazy.
yep.
But I guess
Well,
it
this would
was
not be bad.
weird. But
This would be weird to watch, but it would not. To me, it makes more sense than either going to Gainesville because of the small roads again for that much traffic, or to Orlando, which is farther away. Because if you look at where Jacksonville is and where Daytona is, it's ideally set. It's right on I-95. It's used to handling big traffic events. It would
mhm.
be the best place logistically, I think, to have games for 2 years. To me, it makes more sense. Yeah, it's not a football stadium. You'd cost you money to temporarily do it, but then again, the headaches of trying to get in Gainesville. If you've ever parking in Gainesville sucks beyond suckitude in terms of trying to get. I mean, I'm amazed that they can put all those people in the stadium like they do every Saturday. Well, but then again, when they suck going forward, the Gators, there won't be as much parking necessary. You can't tell I'm jaded, can't you? Not at all. But hey, we'll wrap
no,
up with this article. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like you said, in the end, the biggest thing that matters is attendance.
Yeah.
If you move something and it's cheaper, it doesn't matter if no one shows up. You still lost more money.
Yep.
So
Well,
you got to keep that in mind.
and there
Not
you might be
you,
able to
but
have
other
more
people.
fans in attendance, and you might get people from out of market, from South Florida or Central Florida, to go to a game there to take a chance.
And yeah, I think you'll probably want to try and get some Central Florida people.
Yep.
But if you just move it, I think most people from Central Florida will go there, whether you have it in Daytona,
Mm-hmm.
that want to. If that makes
Well,
sense.
yeah. Well, the two temporary solutions locally that I mentioned about adding 20,000 seats to the AAA baseball stadium and the track and field stadium at the University of North Florida, they could add 20,000 seats. That'd get a capacity of 30,000, similar to what Chargers did when they were waiting for SoFi. Apparently, this team loves, they destroyed San Diego's or LA Chargers postseason last year. Now we're going to build a stadium on them. But the problem in both cases, it would be that it costs probably around $125 million to get those venues to NFL code, which would, which would go against the team's efforts to keep spending down. So, on the overall project. So that is that article. So, but hey, Jessa's coming in saying the Bears are moving to where Arlington Heights horse racetrack has been. Though they will be rebuilding, you can see good set towards it. What? Soldier Field is ending?
Yep.
Really? How? Why?
Yeah, it's partially. I think the ownership is being a little annoying. Uh, I don't know the full story because I don't pay attention to Chicago sports. And unless I'm making fun of the Cubs, then I pay attention. Uh,
That'd be
but
like Wrigley Field being moved,
yeah,
right?
no, I think it's they don't want to do the ownership doesn't want to do the renovations they need to make it work. Um, and I'm sure I guess they said, oh, we'll do it if you give us all this money, which surprisingly they don't want to do that. And so the stadium has issues. I don't know if you remember that. Was it I think it was week
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
Like how what it was they were playing
I
slip
didn't
and
hear about
slide.
that, but Jess is saying the stadium is too old.
Yeah, when they were playing the slip and slide on the field because it was
Mm,
just so wet and they didn't have enough like runoff.
mm,
Um, so the stadium needs to be fixed up. I think that they could do it if uh, they actually bucked up the money instead of made the city pay for it. But
yeah,
instead, they're trying to make a new stadium, which yeah,
yeah. And Jess said the city under Lightfoot wasn't playing ball, and the seats amount was far too low. And see, that's what happens when you do get some politicians that do try to stand up against it. They still find a way because that's gonna be sad though, because that looks like they've already started building. So once they started that, it's gone. It's no stopping progress now. Damn, that's sad.
hmm,
I mean, it was
yeah.
sad when the Cowboys left Texas Stadium, but
I always get mad that the Yankees. I mean, I don't care what the Yankees do for the
uh,
most part. I guess I care that they built a whole new stadium and then they built a new one. I'm like, oh, it's still Yankee Stadium. I'm like, no, it's a different stadium. That doesn't count. You
no,
can't just pretend it's the same one. That's like
yes,
we've had multiple Bush stadiums, but we always call it it's Bush 2. We're on Bush 3. We had Bush 2. They're very different
no,
stadiums. We don't
yeah,
pretend like they're the same thing.
yeah. Wow. Well, I think we're about. Golly, took some time up on these last two stories when we got a couple more to get to. But Jess said
There were
they
some
built the
big
saucer
stories.
as it called on the soldier. It barely passed because of the historic rights on the building. Anything else will need major updates for code. Wow. Well, I guess that's
Mm.
true. If it's a historic structure, then you're going to end up with. See, that's the only problem I have with codes and stuff sometimes because then now you got something that nobody can use. Just I don't know. It's it's just me, but hey, wow, that's interesting to see. So, by the way,
I know.
go ahead. So we'll
Oh,
finish up on
historic
there.
buildings. There's been some random. This is not sports related, but it's just annoying. Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
there's the place in Cottleville, is a place around here. They've been renovating the downtown, making it more fancy and pretty much for hipsters.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, look at this historic building. It's like it used to be here, and we used all the same it's got the same this, and they keep taking away everything. So like they had this building and like look, it's the same building, but they stripped all the wood. They stripped all the wood, they stripped all the siding and everything. It's basically like they have the same frame of the house, and even then they updated some of that, and it's like holy cow, like it's frustrating to me. They're like, oh, look at this historic building. Like, well, you basically tore down the whole building and put it back up, except in a more difficult way. Like there's nothing in this building that's new, that's old and historic. You've pretty much just built an entire new thing, but
yeah.
they still want to call it historic, and they're like, "Oh, look at this." It's like, "Ah, oh, shut up." I don't know.
Mm.
It's a silly thing, but I get annoyed by it.
Well, see, I call it loitering at that AAA baseball stadium because all the yuppies in us all go sit there to drink, standing around, loitering around on the deck instead of sitting in their seats and stuff. I hate the new stadiums. I mean, I say go old school metal bleacher erector set, build it cheap, and hey, if you want to go, you're going to go. Forget all the frills. Get it back to old school football and baseball and stuff. So, but Jess is saying they're going to do a whole complex. It's still working at getting approved by the city people in Arlington, but no talk for anything allowed by contract. Yep, they keep it all quiet, hush, hush. Yep, exactly. But it's is that way that Chicago could try to come up with another deal, another offer that's here, So you never know. It's Jess. That would be I don't know. It's bad enough the Cowboys have moved out from Texas Stadium. You lose all those historic stadiums, and it just I don't know. It's got to stop. But then again, yeah, some things do get so old they do need to be replaced. I understand that and I get that. I just I don't know. I'm happy. I like cheaper construction. There's ways that we can build uh, cheaper stadiums, and I'm good with metal bleachers and stuff. And nobody just say no to bleacher, but everybody gets a bleacher. You get a bleacher. You get a bleacher. Everybody gets a bleacher. That's make it cheap for everybody. Hey, all right, a video about it. I'll have to look at that too a little bit later than Jess. But yeah, wow, that's interesting to see. The contract keeps them from entertaining other offers too. Interesting. Yep. Well, that's an important thing. As we found in the Oakland Athletics article earlier, there was a lot of bouncing back and forth and some uncertainty on each side. And it was like it seemed like the A's were playing both sides. But, yeah, and that's what a lot of times good negotiators do. But if you can get a better deal, then you get a better deal. So, all right. All right. Whoop, anything else on this before we move into one of our last articles for the day?
Nope, I'm good there.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's and Stunning is back from Hanging Shells. Hey, Stunning is back. All right, folks. What is going on right now is the College World Series. Currently, right now, in the nightcap, LSU and Wake Forest in the second bracket, are both undefeated, are playing now. They're in top of the eighth. The game tied at 2. Runners on first and third for LSU. Wake is the number 1 seed overall in the College World Series. LSU is number 5 seed overall in the seeding in the men's college baseball tournament. What we will look at real quick is to see where the standings are as of today. The all high, yeah, 2-0. We'll see what happens. But original 18 field involved Texas Christian University, Oral Roberts, who came out of nowhere. Both of those teams were surprises that came through that were unexpected. Florida is a 2 seed overall nationally, and Virginia Cavaliers are the 7th seed overall. We're in bracket 1. The second bracket involved the top seeded Wake Forest Demon Deacons, the 8th seed Stanford Cardinal, the 5th seeded LSU Tigers, and the Tennessee Volunteers. So you've got they got a force out at home. So hey, Wake had a good play. So or a tag out at home. So runners on first and second with 1 out. That is wow. If you saw that play, wow. Folks, that was a heck of a play. That a grounder to third with the third baseman going into the foul territory, off balance, throws to home, and manages to throw the runner out in a tag play. That was a hell of a throw to be able to do that, because usually you throw the ball away or hit the runner with it. So, all right, we're looking forward to seeing that too, Stunning. So, where we got. So far, 7 games have completed. 5 of the games have ended in 1-run decisions. Excuse me one second.
Who played in the elimination bracket, or I guess who won the elimination in bracket 2?
Okay,
I can't see.
Yep. Earlier today, in the elimination, we'll start with one going down. We TCU lost to Oral Roberts. Florida beat Virginia. So then Florida and Oral Roberts advanced. Played yesterday with the Gators winning and advancing to tomorrow's round, which put basically Virginia losing, win in the elimination bracket against Texas Christian. TCU beats Virginia, moves on, and played Oral Roberts tomorrow. Plays Oral Roberts tomorrow for the right. The winner will move on to face the Gators on the next day on the 21st. This is the first time the Gators have finished 2-0 in the College World Series in a number of years, and the last time they did, they won the College World Series. So it's always advantageous to be 2-0. So in bracket 2, we had Wake Forest edges out Stanford by a run. LSU beat Tennessee 6-3, forcing tonight's game with Wake and LSU, which is still, I guess the play is under review, but he was out. He was out. But basically, this game tonight between Wake Forest and LSU puts the loser in a loser's bracket with a game on the 21st. Actually, let's see. No. The game will be tomorrow. The loser bracket games tomorrow. So it's Oral Roberts TCU tomorrow. Then the loser of this LSU Wake Forest game will play the Tennessee Volunteers, who beat Stanford earlier today. And in quite a dramatic fashion, Whoopa. You know what happened? Stanford got up 4-0 very early in the game on Tennessee. They scored two, I think, in the second, two in the third, chased the Tennessee starter out. Tennessee starter was actually a former starter, but the Tennessee reliever that came in as a former starter came in and basically shut Stanford down for the rest of the match. Tennessee goes on to win this game 6-4, advancing to tomorrow's loser bracket game against the loser of this Wake Forest LSU game. So a lot of drama coming up with this, folks. A lot of drama coming up with it. So what we have is tomorrow. Tomorrow's game will be Oral Roberts at TCU at 2:00 in the afternoon, followed by Tennessee versus the loser of Wake Forest LSU tomorrow. So if you like if you're an SEC fan, this is a hell of a tournament for you because the SEC got 3 teams in, and all 3 are still alive. So how about that, Whoopa?
Sorry, I was talking and my mic was muted.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it happens all the time. But yeah, 3 SEC teams were in this conference, and they're still alive.
SEC is doing good in baseball, it seems.
Yep.
I mean, that is, I guess I don't know a ton about baseball, college baseball, but I know, tends to be teams in the South do a lot better. Not always the case, but it does tend to be the case.
Well, you know what happened? What happens too is because I went college here in the South too. It had a baseball team, and basically all the northern teams would come down. They all came down for because it's still cold up north, and they would come down and play either softball, the women, or the men's baseball. They would come down play in March and April because of the weather, early on. So it was always they would come down for weeks at a time before they go back north and play at home. There were also 2 ACC teams: Virginia, Wake Forest. There's a Big 12 in TCU. So let's see. I'm trying to who's the
Stanford is Pac-12, right?
Pac-12, yep.
And then I don't know who Oral Roberts is.
Oral Roberts, yeah. Let's see.
I'm rooting for them. I want them to win.
Yeah, they actually have gotten. They've actually gotten a lot of. They're like the underdog, the fan favorite team. How
they've been making some great plays. Like it's not even I mean, they are the underdog. But they've just won a lot of games against good opponents. It's impressive.
It's about getting hot. It's really good about getting the hot at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to see real quick to see the Golden Eagles. They've had it in basketball. The only thing I don't think they play is football. So I'm trying to see the conference. I'm trying to find their conference alignment. Let's see. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's really a conference. Yeah, because it's one of those. Yeah, let's go to the Omaha bound. Okay, go. Continue to home on the Golden Eagles. Okay, just trying to find it, but it's really, I don't know. They're probably one of those mid America this middle conferences, not Conference USA, or just trying to have. I hope that their website would actually make. People tell me to Google it all the time, and it's like every time I try to Google it, it's like Summit League. The Summit League. Yep.
That's not one you usually hear.
Yep. The Summit League. That's why I wanted to get this because this is like upper Midwest type of conference. Yeah, exactly. So the Summit League is where they hail from. So, man, I knew I was going to find it. Thank y'all for y'all's patience with me on that one. So, Small Time Republic says it's amazing that Florida State has never won at all. 23 World Series appearances, runner up 3 times. Yes, and Mike Martin was their long time coach, long time. And I remember watching the last time he was in the World Series is the year he retired. And yeah, even as a Gator fan, I did feel sorry for him. But it was like to be there so long to have that kind of success, but to never win the big one. But that there are all coaches in all kinds of sports, pro and college, that will have that legacy. They're great coaches. They were around for a long time and but never managed to win those championships. Always elusive. And it looks like Wake Forest got out of the inning. No, no. They got a double play, so out of the inning. I'm not sure what the score is right now. We'll have to look at that and see in a second. So, Whoopa, you like college baseball?
I haven't paid attention to it a ton. I know I sent you some updates. I know Florida's had a great season, and they have one of the top prospects that Jack JAQ, I think. So they had who's the one?
Let's see.
On what's his name? Mississippi State, Durangelo Sihinte. Oh, Senia. Apparently, that's not how I would have thought to say that, but
you said Mississippi State.
Yeah, he's a switch pitcher. He's kind of a big deal. I don't know how he's gonna do right now, just because it's very interesting. He is just a freshman, I believe. He did not have a great year. Actually, his stats are pretty crappy. But he is still a freshman, and he's striking out 11 per 9 is pretty good. But the amount of walks he gave up is also awful. But he pitches left and right. He had a couple of games where he would he pitched he had back-to-back starts. One start he pitched with his right hand, one start he pitched with his left, and it's just that's a unique skill that you haven't seen in a long time.
The closest that is bizarre, to see it's just stunning that somebody could have that kind of velocity with both hands, to that extent. It's crazy. So, you always had Abbott. Was it Jim Abbott, the one-handed
Jim
pitcher?
Abbott?
Yeah, but I mean, because he had to throw the ball and get the glove on the field and just all that. But to actually go out and use both hands to throw a ball 190 miles an hour is just really, really incredible. So, but yeah, the Gators this year have hit 135 home runs on the year and driven in almost 500 runs. So it's amazing what this team has done, and even then at that, there's a second seed in the tournament. I mean, behind Wake Forest and second seed behind Wake Forest. I was surprised that an ACC team would be ahead of anybody in the SEC, whether it's LSU or Florida. So, all right, well, that's where the College World Series sits. We'll see where we go next time when we talk sports. Let me. I got one last story, Whoopa, because we're right about an hour and 45.
All right.
This is going to be fun, folks. Hey, y'all ready for something even more fun? Really odd and off the wall. I found something because, like I said, I just don't want to be boring stuff and all this stuff, but sports around the world. Here's some interesting articles that I found. An article, a sports brief for June 19th. And we here. Badminton, the Marianas Tournament. The 16-year-old Japanese player Tomoko Miyazaki defeated Kim Ga-rim of South Korea to win the women's singles title at Saipan International 2023 on Sunday. She had edged in the 3 games the previous week. Afterwards, Miyazaki said she had learned from their first match and found a way to work around the Kim style of play. So, and then there was the doubles. So, both competitions are part of the 2024 Paris Olympic badminton qualifying circuit. So we got that, Buddy threw it. Pat Venditt is an ambidextrous switch pitcher. He started with the A's in 2015 and was last with the Marlins in 2020. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know anybody had done that. I know when I followed baseball, I'd never seen that. So that is very, very interesting to see. Hey, we got a basketball brawl. Papua New Guinea Basketball Association has condemned the actions of a group of spectators who got into a brawl after the grand final. The EMK City Rangers Association President David Peters said the fight happened among the people in the audience, did not involve players or officials. And that's it. He said the association condemns the action of the few, will not allow such behavior in any of its competitions again. The games ended themselves successfully with both Missy men's and women's team claiming the grand final titles. All right, another article.
Anytime there's a brawl, I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We love fights in sports, you know?
Heck yeah, especially when you get the fans involved. I know some people might disagree, you know. Some we've had this happen in basketball in the past, but you know what? I'm a fan of the Malice in the Palace. Why not? Hey, you want to throw? Listen, I usually think a lot of athletes need to get some thicker skin. There was a recent thing that happened in the MLB. A guy said, I think some fan called a player a bitch, essentially, and he got mad and grabbed him and tried to hit him. And it's like, okay, look, I'm not saying it's nice to say, but you got to have thicker skin than that. But I'm going off on a tangent about fighting stuff, but Malice in the Palace, you threw a beer at Ron Artest. Hey, if you want to throw stuff at someone, you better be prepared for them to come at you. That's not his fault. That's your fault. Once you start throwing stuff at players, hey, they got to defend themselves. They can't just let them throw stuff at you. So
the biggest fight I ever saw was with players on the court. I swear it went from one side of the basketball court around the court to the other side of the court. It was crazy. It was the Campbell fighting camels actually that did it. So, we love fights. We don't condone violence, but a good brawl in sports is always a good one when it's fought fair and cleanly, But hey, we got soccer, international football. The Solomon Islands men football team drew a 1-1 tie with Singapore in the city state on Sunday night. Singapore took the lead 32 minutes, but Joses Nawo gained the Solomons equalizer with 5 minutes left to play. The game follows Papua New Guinea's 2-2 draw against Singapore. In an eventful end to the first half, Adi Capo equalized for PNG before Singapore hit quickly back to lead 2-1. Lasted all of a minute as an attempted clearance came off Captain Raymond Gunimba. It sounds like Goomba.
Bless
make it 2-2. Yeah, thank you. So Solomon's lost 4-1 to Malaysia, and PNG now face the higher ranked Malaysia. See and I say this with all seriousness, and I say it with respect because I do history. A lot of it talked about Civil War stuff, but my grandfather was in the South Pacific in World War II. Most of these places, all I can keep thinking is about World War II when I see some of these places, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands. So anyway, so rugby, Drua, Fijian Drua coach Mick Byrne will be with the side again in 2024. So he signed for another 2-year deal. Yay. And last one is cricket, U19s. New Zealand is the only team unbeaten in the East Asia Pacific under-19 cricket qualifiers being held in Australia. Friday, Japan beat Vanuatu by 258 runs. That's a close game, 258 runs. New Zealand beat Fiji by 8 wickets, and Indonesia beat Samoa by 4 wickets. Wow, we got runs and wickets. Where's the Ewok? So On Sunday, Japan beat Samoa by 134 runs. Fiji beat Vanuatu by 35 runs, and New Zealand beat Papua New Guinea by 143 runs. The
That's a
overall
few.
winner, yeah, exactly. The overall winner of the qualifier will play at the Under 19 Cup in Sri Lanka in 2024. So there
Hmm.
you go. That's what we have tonight, folks. Thank y'all for hanging with us. There's a couple of comments I need to get back to and then tell you about what's coming up. Buddy said they made a rule because of him that switch pitchers have to designate which arm is going to be pitched with before the start of each at bat and
Oh
can't switch
yeah.
to the other arm until the next at bat.
So that was a thing about I don't know if you because I did remember hearing about this. A guy because batters switch hitters is pretty common, and they want to hit on the left side
Mm-hmm.
when they're facing a right-hander
Right.
or whatnot.
You want to be the
Uh,
opposite so the curve comes into you.
yeah, and so this guy came up to bat, and he was a switch hitter, and he was on the right side, and the pitcher switched his glove, so then he got into the other batter's box. So then the pitcher switched his glove again, and he got back, and apparently it went on for like a few minutes before the batter started yelling at the pitcher, and things got heated, and eventually, there was no
Mm-hmm.
rule about this, so eventually the umpire I think just said, "Hey, you got to pick your side."
Yep.
Like I forget who
Exactly.
we told to pick a side, and then eventually they made that rule
Yeah.
that said, yeah, the pitcher has to pick before the start of that bat. Can't switch until the next one.
And folks, just
So
to
there you go,
score,
trivia with Buddy Hepburn.
absolutely. Thank you, buddy, and thank you, Whoopa. Wake Forest now leads 3-2 over LSU.
Oh snap!
I think it's bottom of the eighth, so it's close. It's close to the end. So, all right. So, thank you, Whoopa, again for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
No
Glad to have
problem.
you on with me. Thank you for everybody that's out in the chat, that's lurked, that's participated. Thanks for all the feedback from everybody. And yes, Jess. Jess said that Jeff mentioned during the stream last night he's excited for his upcoming stream with me. Well, guess what, folks?
Woo.
We're going to talk about that right now with what's coming up. The first thing is the Monday sports show is probably going. I'll try to do it next Monday night, but after that, we'll be on hiatus. Probably will not be back because we'll probably be up and into the college football season in force, but we'll have to see how that works because for the starting in July, the missus and I are going to do a detour with the Dadmans where we are actually going to talk in more detail about our 16-day adventure. We had a stream recently where we highlighted things throughout the trip and kind of did an overview of some different things and all. This is the one where we've broke it out at this point 11 different sections. So we could have 11 different streams just on this, full of information, full of pictures and other stuff. So be prepared in Mondays and Tuesdays in July for this adventure with us. Okay? So that, looking forward to it. We got a lot of work to do on that too. So that's another thing we got to get working on. But also with that, tomorrow night is kind of clear on the channel. I may do some gaming. I don't know. But on Wednesday night is this. We're thrilling with Hungry Boy, the Trilogy of Terror edition. Listen, folks, come watch us. Tune in with us for this. I will tell you, there's a story behind the Zuni Tiki doll right here. If you know me from very early and hang around the YouTube chats, you will recognize this was my avatar at one point. So
it was the pre-banana avatar.
Exactly. As Clobber Time said, the scariest avatar on YouTube. So, but Hungry Boy's got like 8 pages of notes ready for this. So
Oh
come
wow!
join us with it. He is a fantastic artist and stuff. He drew that. The avatar there is a dwarf. He drew it himself.
Oh wow! That's really good. Then.
So come with your art questions. The Trilogy of Terror. Talk about that. If you know it, watch. If you know it, I'd love to have you. If you've not seen it, watch it. I will be honest. It's been a while since I've watched them. The first 2 are just kind of, you just got to get through them. But that last one with the Tiki doll. Oh my God. No. Damn it, Buddy Hepburn. It's not Starving Marvin. Jeez. Damn, I never thought that. Damn, now I can't get that out of my head. Stunning thought his profile picture was scary. So, hey, but there you go. So join us for that Wednesday night at 8. Let me pull this banner down real quick. There we go, so you can see it. All right. Then that brings up Alaska Jeff and me with Fortnite on Thursday night. Looking forward to another repeat show up with Jeff. We had a blast last time. We did some great things. He even did great color commentating to my unicorn blowing up a gas station. Really
Oh
deadpanning,
yeah,
laughing about how, oh, he missed. He struck out again. That must be embarrassing. Just
I
there's just
remember that. I was there.
bring entertainment to the masses. It was like he did a great job. It's going to be blast. So hang out with us for that night. Fortnite fun. Speaking of Fortnite, on Friday night, I'm doing something different. I'm actually going to bring a lot of people that I play with online for a panel discussion.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about this. We're going to actually see, we're going to talk about what we like, what we don't like. There we go. So, you know, we'll be on YouTube, be on Twitch. I think at this point, I've heard different things. So for now, we're doing both, but we'll see what happens. But join us for this. If you like Fortnite, come and join us. Participate in the discussion and tell us what you like, what you don't like. Like Stunning thinks the Wilds needs to go away ASAP. Yeah, I agree. Stunning rushes into everything, but you should see the way he drives around the Wilds. He will not go down in there, and I don't blame him. I try to avoid it myself. So join us for that. Come prepared for that. And for discussion. If you want to know more about Fortnite, just ask and we'll try to answer your questions too. So, all right, we got that. Then next Tuesday, I got the great Mads Mama Bear coming on with me. She's now her channel's Mama Bear Art Doll, and we're going to just chill and talk about art and whatever else we come out. So, exactly. So join us for that. Mad's a great lady. I'm looking forward to actually getting to talk to her again. It's been a long time since I've actually talked to her in person. Wonderful person, great to have around. And Jess is saying, don't forget Fortnite Update 3. Yeah, again, Shockwave grenades coming to build, zero build. Ugh. Rank settings reset. Oh, man, that must suck for the people that did rank. But, oh, well. Well, thank you for that update on that. And I agree with Stunning. I want the taco place back. Exactly. But that's like an island ago. So, well, on that note, folks, hey, thanks for all coming be here. Make sure you smash that like button on the way out. Make sure you subscribe. If you haven't, check your sub to make sure that you are still subbed, because we do get cases that people have been subbed and then they take it away. So, but on that note, check our live streams and videos on youtube.com, dadmanwalking55, twitch.tv, dadmanwalking55. Dadmanwalking55 is everywhere. Best way, like just put in the chat, Twitter, Dadman1K55 is the best place to know when I go live on impromptu streams, especially gaming streams and stuff like that. Yeah, and then Stunning says, nice, I control my teammate again with shock nades. There you go. And Jess says, it's probably going to go down one level. That's what usually happens at a new season. This is a test. Well, sometimes I wish they quit testing, because I'm like Stunning, though. That whole Wilds. I cannot see in there, and it's like instant death. But hey. But on that note, folks, hey, thank you. We've made 2 hours. Thank you again for tonight, and thanks for everybody hanging for so long. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your support of the channel. Thank you for being here with me and Whoopa. Whoopa, thank you again for being here, and always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and I'll probably be streaming tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central, so...
Awesome. What are you playing tomorrow night?
Same game. Still just playing some Creeper World.
All right. Well, y'all heard it. You gotta check Whoopa's channel out, and okay. Jess don't like the new area either. Yeah. Wow. When Jess doesn't like something in Fortnite, wow, that says something. Yeah. We'll talk about it Friday night. Everybody come find out what we're talking about. We'll save it for Friday night. But on that note, everybody, thank you again, and y'all have a great evening, and we will catch you later. Bye, all.